It's raining again, what are we gonna do? We're sinners and God lets us know. It's all so grey and my fingers are sore. I cannot grab my dreams, cheer me up.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Brandon.
And we're the owners of Overflow Coffee Bar.
And founders of Overflow Your Possibility.
Drowning deep into our boredom. Send me on a mission to bring back some light. Look up, here it comes, the magic bus has just arrived. The magic bus has just arrived.
We'd always drank coffee. Most of our dates were in coffee shops, and we were dating and learning how coffee is the second most widely traded commodity in the world. So if we want to change the world, changing our coffee consumption can really make a big impact on the farmers and all the different hands that the coffee goes through from the farmer to your cup. And so we took those things and we put them together and kept expanding from there.
We started this journey 5 years ago to kind of bridge that, again, ethical economics and community building, and hopefully empowering not just entrepreneurs but just your regular customer. So what we wanted to do was empower them to actually make a difference by what they buy. And then the reason a coffee shop is people come together through coffee or through food and drink, and there's a lot of social change that can happen as we come together as a community.
So after Overflow Coffee Bar turned 5 years old, we started thinking about how do we take what we've done with this smaller, localized group of people and help more people do these same kind of things all over the world. In terms of thinking about their purchasing power and building their local communities and acting locally in a way that changes the world. So we got certified as coaches, life and business coaches, so that we could help take what we've learned over the last 5+ years of being on this journey and help them figure out how to do it within their own context. Not make the same mistakes that we did, but go with the same intentionality that we did. And we're really excited to do that, and that's our motivation behind it, is sort of paying it forward and increasing our own impact. That it can go beyond the mile radius of our coffee shop to the whole world. Brendan wants me to explain where we came up with Overflow as well. So Martin Luther King Jr. said that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And I like to turn that into a positive because I'm an optimist. So I like to say that positive things happening anywhere can result in positive things happening everywhere. And so if you imagine this as like a fountain, and at the top is you and your close friends and family, and the positive things that you experience can overflow and make positive things happen around you, with your coworkers, people live in your neighborhood, that kind of thing. And the positive things happening with that larger group of people can overflow to positive things in your city, which can overflow to positive things in your state, in your country, and then in the whole world. And then we get to my favorite part of fountains, the feedback loop. The positive things happening all over the world feed back up to you and your close friends and family and can help positive things happening there. So when we talk about overflow your possibility, that's what we're looking to see happen, is those positive things, not just sticking inside of us, but being shared with the world. Yeah, we've had we had a team of different people, peers and people that wanted to get more experience and, help with different things. But we definitely had mentors and coaches as well. Two in particular that helped us the most. One was a mentor, a lady who owned a coffee shop herself, and I did an apprenticeship with her and worked with her for 3 months, 21 hours a week. And I worked for her for free, and she taught me everything that she knew, and I learned about coffee and how to run a coffee shop and all of that from her. And she was working in her local community in the same ways that we wanted to as well. Nice. And then another guy who actually doesn't live close by here, he lives in Iowa, who we did Skype calls with once a month, that after we were opened, we needed somebody to check in with, ask us some good questions, make sure we were taking care of ourselves at the same time that we were pouring into this business and all kinds of things like that. So those two really stand out. And there were other people, that sort of came in and out or gave this piece of advice or that piece of advice or different things, but those two were the ones that we had like a committed relationship with in terms of coaching and mentoring.
Nice.
Yeah.
And people that we could call and say, things aren't so good here. Like they're not doing well, and they cared more about us than the product that we were creating. Not necessarily. I mean, they liked Overflow, they liked all that, but they were more concerned about our own health above, and that's hard to find. And to have a coach that is like, yeah, I'm committed to you, not necessarily to your results.
We've always worked pretty hard. We still work pretty hard, lots of hours. One thing that's really great is that there's two of us. A lot of entrepreneurs are solo, it's just them, and so for them to try to have a business, a brick and mortar business and start an online business might be really difficult for them. But since there's two of us, it seems a little easier, and I know of other people that do very similar things, and we definitely can do things like hire someone to manage more so the coffee bar, and then we can sort of oversee how that goes and focus more on the coaching. We might, and assuming the coaching goes really well and we get lots of people to work with. Do you have something to add to that?
Well, I think keeping both is important for us as coaches, because there's a lot of I would say business advice out there where it's people who give advice who don't actually know how to walk out the advice. And
it's all theory.
Yeah,
for
it's
them.
all theory. Whereas we want to be like, hey, actually, I've had to deal with it, and I can show through my proof.
So we take a really broad definition of social enterprise, and we really like to think about anytime an individual takes whatever they're passionate about and what they think is like their purpose in life, their destiny, their calling, their, whatever you want to call it, and they live that out, that actually has a social impact, and they could do that in such a way that can also generate revenue. And so we want to work with individuals who want to do that kind of thing. They want to live out their calling, their true purpose in life, while making money and while also caring for the planet and the people who live here. And so they have that like triple bottom line for their life. And that they could do that within the context of a nonprofit, with starting their own business they could even do that within the context of a big corporation, where they're given the ability to help that big corporation shift its purchasing, or give back in a certain way or something like that. So but we would work on more of the individual level to help them dream and figure out those ideas, rather than coming in and working, say, with a team at the company. Although maybe that's in the future, but that's not in our plans right now. And what's really cool is that we envision when we do this with individuals that then they'll probably pay it forward and also work with other people and help inspire them, and so it could sort of overflow from there, and it's virtually limitless how many people could overflow their possibilities through coaching. We have a good friend that likes to say, go as far as you can see and then you'll see farther. We really like that as a way to think about, do what's in your mind, like in your vision to accomplish. And once that's, like when we first started Overflow Coffee, we thought we'll start one shop, we're just going to have this one place, and we're just going to spend the rest of our lives just doing this one thing. And once it, was stable and solid and starting to make some money, after 5 years, then we realized, oh no, we can do more than this. So maybe once we get the online stuff really going, and we're coaching people and it's going really well, then we'll probably be like, yeah, we could do something more. We could start a second location. We could do this. We could, do that. Whatever happens. Yeah.
Is again finances and being behind the bar, working in the business is what they say, and we can't work on the business to like grow it because we don't even have the money, and so we're like trying to bootstrap, and it gets frustrating where you're like, everybody asks you need to do this, you can do this, and you're like, yes, I know, I'm one person, and that gets challenging. It was also, we had challenges outside of work, like whenever our health was bad in the first 2 years, like dealing with that and knowing like we're for each other, not against each other. I think that's where our marriage got stronger, but it was also hard at times because you're like, our life sucks, this is really hard, I want to quit, but we had no plan B. That was one of the things that we always tell people. And then from starting Overflow Your Possibility, it's starting from zero to build something. Everybody wants to follow the winners, but in order to build that, it takes time, and building a clientele and all that. It takes time and resources. So finding good partners is a solution, and coaches.
Okay, so from when I was a really little kid, I've always been an activist. I remember as a kid watching Save the Whale documentaries, and at a certain age, I forced my parents to start recycling because they hadn't been recycling up until then. And so that's always been like inside of me, that wanting to change the world and make it a better place. And I went through a lot of different iterations of who I thought I would become. At one point I thought I would be the President of the United States, then maybe just the speech writer, and then after college I've only worked in the nonprofit sector, and the job that I had right before I left to start Overflow was I was a grant writer for a large national nonprofit.
I'll tell everyone the story of the boat that you get to and from the land, and about where we saw the ground.
I guess for me, I always wanted to, I guess there was always something to have a legacy or be a part of something that makes a difference. And so I was in the Marine Corps for right after high school. I also was not supposed to be in the military or Marines because they said my health was too bad. So I joined the Marine Corps because they said, you can't do that. That's impossible. It's not going to happen. And so I did. And I almost died, I felt like, a couple times because it's the military. But I overcame it and learned how to experience pain in different ways, which has actually helped us to overcome things here, having that training. And then I also, after that, I got into the music industry. I didn't know anything about music, and I called, I think, like the recording studios and said, how do how do I do this? What do I have to do? And they said, well, you become an intern. So I'm like, well, do you need help? And so I ended up working at some big recording studios, meeting like a ton of famous people, but then and wanting to change the world, because I believe music does impact people. The problem is it impacts for the better or for the worse. And I got out of the industry because I saw a lot of the worst. I saw a lot of celebrities, and I saw what they had achieved their pinnacle, and they had nothing. They had money, they had fame, but they were missing something. And so then I went on going to school, maybe having a family, and still having something missing. And that's kind of where the coffee shop idea started for me. And then the social entrepreneur side was a whole, like, we were going to be a nonprofit coffee shop, not a L3C, which is what we are. But that was a whole like weird situation that happened that led us to being the 17th L3C in the state of Illinois, being a part of this, like a new community. And we think it's been around a long time, but it's fairly recent where the social enterprise terminology has come around. Maybe it's been around for a long time, but this new terminology is bigger, and part of it's millennials, seeing the parents in the breakdown of 2008, and seeing where we lost a lot of money and security, and saying, I don't want that. I don't want to have put all my money, all my time into a business or security of making money, and then I've lost my heart or whatever. So I think there's a shift happening because of that.
From this new horizon with them, now we are out of reach and that everything is fine.
Have a team. It can be, coaches and mentors and people that are pouring into you. It can be people that you involve as like volunteers. As we had a setup shop committee when we were setting up Overflow, and they really helped us spread the word about what we were doing. When we needed some people just to help clear a bunch of construction, mess out of the building, they showed up and we got it done. And instead of paying $10,000 to somebody else to do it, and we bought them dinner, and we were building community, and they were liking us on Facebook, and just involving other people, having a team is so crucial. You don't have to do it alone. No one's going to care about it as much as you care about it, but they love a great, people love a great vision, and they want to give back and help something really awesome happen, and so involve them, give them the chance to. They're looking for it.
Yeah, and start telling your story earlier.
Over and over.
Over and over, and collecting emails.
Yep.
Like, we probably should have done that a lot more aggressive, because then it's easier to build whatever you have. I don't think anyone can. I think you anyone has the potential. For me, I think it's always being a learner and saying, this is a blind spot. So having either the team around you that can help you, or go out and find the information yourself, and being teachable. So anybody can, as long as they're teachable.
I would agree with that. It definitely takes, regardless of like what your skills and strengths are, as long as you're willing to figure out how to account for your weaknesses, either you go and learn somewhere, either, maybe that's through a program, but maybe that's also through online or through having a mentor, or you find people that have the strengths where you're weak and you get them together. That's actually, I think, part of why we've done so well is because Brandon's really strong at certain things and I'm strong at the opposite things. And so that's really helped us out a lot and given us an advantage in that way. But where we did, neither of us have a background in business. We didn't go to school for business. And so I think it's really, you just find what comes natural for you and what you really love, and then figure out how to build your business around that. I think the future of business is in social businesses and social enterprises. I dream and hope for the day where every single business is a social enterprise and every single business is thinking about their triple bottom line and not just making money, but the impact that they're having on their people and on the planet as they make that money. I think you would be silly to start a business now and not have it be a social enterprise. So, we're 8 years past, our huge recession and these big banks getting bailed out and the Occupy movement starting, and there's a big sort of anti-big business in a lot of, the younger generations right now. A move toward having smaller, locally owned businesses, and those being the future of making sure we maintain culture and not, have one culture, but we have a lot of different cultures, and we're appreciating all of those. You need smaller local businesses that are building a culture within that community to do that. And they're sourcing locally and using more local ingredients, especially food-wise. So then you're taking care of the planet at the same time, and you're building this community where everybody can have a job and everybody can feed their family and send their kids to school and have health care and, all those things. And so if people are thinking of starting a social enterprise in the US and in Canada and probably in other places, I would very strongly recommend that they think about starting one that's small and independent and locally owned and is building into that local community.
I don't know what's going on in France or what's needed there. I know what's needed here, and then also within my own passions and things like that. I think is knowing what is inside of you and pursuing that, but also being aware of your community and your context. Because the best person to know how to solve a problem in the South Side is probably not somebody from MIT or something like that. It's probably a Southsider that's going to know the challenges and the things that need to be addressed.
It is time to live out your purpose every single day.
It's time to change the world, for all of us to take responsibility for the world we live in and to make an impact for our kids. It's time for us to step into what we're called to, and it's also time to eat.
Look at the sky.